Son Excellence, la très honorable Louise
Her
Arbour.
Excellency, the Right Honorable Louise
La très
Arbour,
honorable Mary
the
Simon.
Right Honorable Mary Simon,
Monsieur Whit Fraser.
Mr. Whit
Le très
Fraser,
honorable
the
Richard
Right
Wagner,
Honorable Richard
juge en
Wagner,
chef du Canada.
Chief Justice of Canada,
Ancien gouverneur général.
former Governors General,
Ancien Premier ministre.
former Prime
Dirigeants
Ministers,
autochtones.
Indigenous
Distingués
leaders,
invités.
and distinguished guests.
As Elder Verna McGregor just reminded us, this place holds history. As part of the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Anishinaabe peoples through time immemorial. As the start of the Rideau Canal, which transformed commerce during the 19th century. As the place where Canadian soldiers embarked for the battlefields of World War I, including Vimy Ridge, where many felt that Canada first became an independent nation. As the train station, where Sir Winston Churchill arrived to rally Allied support when the outcome of the Second World War hung in the balance. As the building where Canada's first ministers gathered for negotiations that led to the repatriation of our Constitution, the establishment of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and the enshrinement of Indigenous rights within it. Des chapitres importants de l'histoire du Canada se sont inscrits
Important
ici.
chapters of the history of
Des
Canada were
moments
written here.
marqués par le sacrifice et le leadership.
Moments marked by
Des
sacrifice and
moments
leadership.
qui ont contribué à bâtir notre
Moments that contributed to building our
Aujourd'hui,
nation.
En
Today,
tant que siège du Sénat du Canada, cet
as the seat of the
édifice est
Senate
le
of
lieu
Canada,
où sont
this
débattus,
building is the place
peaufinés,
where
examinés
decisions
avec soin les décisions qui
are debated,
façonneront les prochains
refined, and
chapitres de
reviewed,
l'histoire de notre pays.
decisions that will shape the next chapters
Throughout
of this
Canada's
country's
history,
history.
Whenever the world's fortunes were threatened, Canadians have chosen to step up and assert ourselves as a sovereign, ambitious, and compassionate nation. We are once again living through one of those hinge moments of history, which is why a year ago, His Majesty King Charles came here to open Parliament, which is why respect for our institutions is vital, which is why we are each called to share each other's perspectives and work for our common good. Le comté d'aujourd'hui, Sa Majesté
Starting today,
aura une nouvelle
His Majesty will
représentante
have a new
au Canada.
representative in
Les
Canada.
Canadiens et les Canadiens, quant à eux,
As for
auront
Canadians,
une nouvelle commandante en
they will
chef
have a new
et une nouvelle
commander-in-chief,
gardienne de l'ordre
a new
constitutionnel.
guardian of the constitutional order.
Aujourd'hui, la très
Today,
honorable Louise Arbour
The Right Honorable
devient
Louise Arbour
la 31e gouverneur général du Canada.
becomes the 31st Governor General of Canada.
La couronne est le
The
fil
crown
conducteur de notre vie
is the common thread
constitutionnelle.
of our constitutional life.
Comme Sa Majesté l'a
As
affirmé
His
lui-même
Majesty
dans cet ensemble,
himself affirmed,
elle symbolise
in
fièrement
this
le
very
Canada
place,
aujourd'hui
is the Canada of
et son
today
dynamisme.
in all its richness and
The
dynamism.
Governor General is the guardian of our constitutional order, a symbol of unity, and above all, a steward of our commitment to peace, order, and good government. Canadians entrust the Governor General to defend our institutions, to uphold our core values of liberty, fairness, solidarity, and sustainability. To represent our ambition to build a stronger, fairer country for all. These duties call for sound judgment, deep learning, and an unwavering commitment to the rule of law, the very principles on which our new Governor General, Her Excellency Louise Arbour, has built her exceptional career. Son Excellence a occupé les plus hautes fonctions
Her
au sein du
Excellency
système judiciaire canadien,
has
y
held the
compris
highest offices
à la
in our
Cour suprême
Canadian
du Canada.
judicial system, including
Pourtant,
at the Supreme
son
Court of
héritage
Canada.
ne se limite pas au travail
Yet her
qu'elle a
legacy is
accompli au
not
sein de
confined
la
to the work
magistrature.
that she carried out within the
Certaines de ses
judiciary.
réalisations les plus
Some
marquantes
of her
en
most
tant que
significant
juriste
accomplishments
se sont
as a
déroulées
jurist
en dehors des salles
unfolded
d'audience du
outside
Canada.
of Canada's
En tant
courts.
que haute commissaire, elle a
As High
exhorté
Commissioner,
le système des droits de la
she
personne
urged
des
the
Nations Unies
United Nations
à
human
se
rights
montrer
system
digne des
to prove
personnes
itself
qui
worthy
prétendaient servir.
of those that it claimed to
Elle a
serve.
donné une voix à ceux dont la
She gave a
dignité
voice
était bafouée.
to those whose
Là
dignity had been
où les
violated
personnes au pouvoir préféraient
in a
le
place
silence.
where persons in power preferred silence.
At every stage of her distinguished career, Her Excellency Louise Arbour has defended and promoted justice, dignity, and equality. In The Hague, where her work held the most powerful to account. At the United Nations, when she defended the most vulnerable. In Canada, where across academia, in our highest courts, and in public service, she upheld justice for all. Depuis plus de 50 ans, dans toutes
For
les
more than 50
fonctions
years,
qu'elle a occupées, la très
in all
honorable
the
Louise Arbour a
offices
toujours
she has
été
held,
animée
the
par la
Right
même
Honorable
conviction.
Louise Arbour has always been driven by the same
que
conviction.
Pour qu'une société
The
soit
conviction
libre,
that
les
in order for a
institutions de cette
society to be
dernière doivent
free,
être tenues
its
de rendre
institutions must be held to
compte.
account.
Que ce sont les lois qui font le rempart
That
entre les
laws
plus puissants
are the
et les
rampart
plus démunis.
between the powerful and
Que
the
la dignité
disadvantaged.
de chaque être humain ne
That
doit
the
pas
dignity
dépendre de
of
facteurs
every human
aléatoires
being
tels que
must
la
not
situation
depend on
géographique,
random factors,
citoyenneté
such as where you live,
ou des
your
considérations
citizenship,
de commodité.
or expediency.
Et que le rôle du Canada dans ce monde
And that
est de
Canada's
mettre
role
ces
in this
principes en
world
pratique
is to
et
put these
d'aider
principles into
les autres
practice
pays à
and
faire
help
de même.
other countries to do the same.
The Governor General is the steward of the values we cherish, of the democracy that we celebrate, of the Constitution that protects our freedoms and the institutions that promote them. In fulfilling these tasks, Her Excellency will represent the best of Canada to Canadians and to the world. A Canada that is a bastion of justice, security, and prosperity for all. A Canada that is a beacon to a world at sea. A Canada that is clear-eyed about the challenges we face and steadfast in the values we uphold. A Canada that is not just strong, but good. A Canada that is not just prosperous, but fair. Votre Excellence, au nom
Your
du gouvernement
Excellency,
du Canada
On behalf of the
et de
government of
l'ensemble
Canada
des Canadiennes et des
and
Canadiens,
all Canadians,
merci. Merci
I
d'avoir
thank you
d'assumer
for
cette
agreeing to
nouvelle
take on
fonction
this new
pour le
role
bien du Canada.
for the good of
Et
Canada.
maintenant,
And
j'ai
it
le
is
plaisir
now my
d'accueillir
pleasure to
le
welcome
31e gouverneur
the
général
31st
du
Governor
Canada,
General of Canada,
la très honorable
the Right Honorable Louise Arbour.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I now invite Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Louise Arbour, Governor General of Canada, to deliver her address.
J'invite maintenant Son Excellence,
I
la
now
très
invite
honorable
Her
Louise
Excellency,
Arbour,
the
Gouverneur
Right
Général du
Honourable
Canada,
Louise
à nous adresser
Arbour,
la
Governor
parole.
General of Canada, to deliver her address.
Monsieur le Premier ministre, honorable juge de la Cour
Prime Minister,
suprême,
Honourable
honorable
Justices of the
senators,
Supreme Court,
ministers, and members of the House of Commons, distingués chefs et aînés autochtones,
distinguished
Dear Canadians.
Indigenous chiefs and elders,
je suis profondément honoré de me présenter
I am
devant vous
deeply
aujourd'hui.
honoured to stand before
Ces
you
lieux
today.
ont été érigés sur
These
le
halls
territoire traditionnel
were
de la
built
nation
on the traditional
Algonquin
territory
Anishinaabe,
of the Algonquin
un peuple
Anishinaabe
fier qui prend
Nation,
soin de
a
ses
proud
terres
people
et qui les
who have
enrichit
cared
de
for
sa
these
culture
lands
depuis
and
des
enriched
millénaires.
them with their culture for millennia.
We are gathered here today in the Senate chambers, where careful scrutiny is applied to the laws that will shape our future. Comme la Cour suprême du Canada et la Chambre
Like
des
the
communes,
Supreme Court of Canada
le
and the
Sénat
House of
contribue au
Commons,
dialogue
the Senate
travers lequel la
contributes to
démocratie
the
canadienne
dialogue through
s'exprime.
which Canadian democracy is
I
expressed.
want to thank Prime Minister Carney and His Majesty King Charles III for entrusting me with the opportunity to serve another great Canadian institution in this new role over the coming years. I also wish to thank the Right Honourable Mary Simon for her remarkable service. Her Excellency stood with Canadians through defining moments, from the COVID-19 pandemic to periods of economic strain and profound shifts in the global landscape. Her tenure as Canada's first Indigenous Governor-General will be viewed by history as both significant and timely. I admire the hand that Her Excellency has extended to all Canadians. She has reminded us that reconciliation is a lifelong journey that begins with listening and with empathy. Listening to voices that challenge our understanding of history. Listening to Indigenous environmental and spiritual knowledge, deeply sophisticated, yet long overlooked. Listening to languages unfamiliar to many of us, that have resonated from coast to coast to coast for centuries. And embracing a future in which First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples are no longer cast aside. J'ai pour ma part appris l'importance de comprendre
For my
le
part,
point de
I
vue
have
des
learned the
autres,
importance of understanding differing
éducation
points of view,
qu'au cours de ma
both
vie
through my
professionnelle.
education and throughout my
En
professional
fait,
life.
j'ai vécu à la fois
In fact,
le
I
confort
have
et
experienced
l'inconfort
both the
de
comfort and
l'homogénéité.
discomfort of
J'ai
homogeneity.
grandi à Montréal
I grew up in
dans un
Montreal
milieu
in a
confortablement
comfortably
homogène.
homogeneous
J'ai
environment.
grandi en uniforme,
I grew up in uniform,
éduqué exclusivement par des femmes.
educated exclusively by
mère
women,
Et les religieuses
my
de la
mother
congrégation
and
de
the sisters
Notre-Dame.
of the Congregation of Notre Dame.
Jusqu'à mes 20 ans, j'ai
Until
été
the age
entourée
of
de
20,
camarades de
I
classe
was
qui
surrounded
étaient
by
toutes
classmates who were
francophones,
all
blanches
francophone,
et catholiques
white,
comme moi.
Catholic girls, just like me.
J'ai ensuite travaillé dans un
I
autre
then worked
milieu
in
homogène,
another largely
un
homogeneous
milieu
environment,
essentiellement
one that was
anglophone
predominantly
et masculin.
Anglophone and male dominated.
Et malgré la promesse que je m'étais
And
faite à
despite
20
the
ans
promise I
de
made
ne
to
plus
myself
porter d'uniforme,
to never again wear a
j'ai revêtu
uniform,
ma toge de juge
I
sans
donned
la
my
moindre
judge's robe
conscience des
without the
surprises que nous
slightest
réserve la vie.
inkling of the surprises life has in store
J'ai
for
par,
us.
j'ai par la suite eu la chance inouïe
I
de
then had
travailler
the
à
incredible
l'étranger.
opportunity to
J'ai
work I discovered the richness of the connections to be made with people with whom we thought we had nothing in common. My work, both as a judge and in service to the international community, exposed me to a wide range of perspectives. The same is true of the privilege I had of living abroad and working in countries that are vastly different from Canada. I have seen regions ravaged by war and poverty, where people, like all of us, yearn to live with dignity, in peace and security. And I've always been struck by the fact that everything is a matter of perspective.
I remember standing outside the United Nations headquarters in New York in the 1990s, confronted with my own biases. I came across a group of Chinese tourists, and I asked a young woman about her impressions of New York. She replied, "It's so old." I was surprised, and then I realized that I had been projecting a story onto her, imagining her as coming from a civilization centuries-old splendor and gazing at a vibrant city in a younger country. In reality, she was more likely born in futuristic Shanghai or Shanghai, glittering metropolises of glass towers. So there I was, looking at New York, looking at her, and making assumptions. Perspective is everything. Je vois le Canada avec le regard de quelqu'un qui l'a connu de près.
I look at Canada through the eyes of someone who has known it both up close and from afar, always with admiration. A country that is not afraid to reinvent itself. Our future is our shared project, a project that calls on us to balance the many perspectives that shape our collective identity. We do not all share the same understanding of our history, nor do we all share the same origins. We, or our ancestors, come from all over the world. Peoples have always traveled. I am thinking in particular of Inuit families who have always traversed the vast expanse of the Arctic. And humanity has always sought to go further, to push the boundaries, and to go higher, as our Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen did on his mission into space. How could anyone be anything other than awestruck by the thought that he set his eyes on places no other human being had ever seen before? So I say this with confidence, let us not slow our momentum toward progress out of fear of differences.
Extreme polarization is dangerous, but so is extreme consensus. It is through our differences and our fundamental right to express them that we will nourish critical thinking, creativity, and innovation. It is through our differences that we will build a common future. As Canadians, we have the extraordinary privilege of living in a mature democracy. We benefit from strong institutions that allow different views to be expressed. We must continue to protect the public space in which our national debates take place, from schools and universities to the media, to political parties, unions, and civil society organizations, from theaters, concert halls, and museums, to courtrooms and the floors of our legislative assemblies. The peaceful management of our differences is nowhere better expressed than in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. The Charter guarantees that our cherished individual rights are subject only to the reasonable limits that are necessary for life in a free and peaceful democracy. This is what it means to live under the rule of law. In an open society like ours, the purpose of law is not to restrain, but to construct a greater freedom for all. We have a constitutional and cultural framework that allows us to imagine, to explore, to innovate, and to experiment. Our humor is grounded in self-deprecation. We believe in leading as a team. We do not mistake humility for weakness, nor do we measure a person's worth by the thickness of their wallet. We don't think we are perfect, but we believe we're pretty well on the way there. We have a remarkable capacity to pause, to examine our failures, and to learn from them. And when we do, we seek to understand, not just to blame. And we know that we're not yet doing enough. Not enough for each other, let alone for the billions around the world who look at us with justifiable envy. Our country covers nearly 7% of the world's landmass and holds 20% of its fresh water, and yet we make up just half of 1% of its population. We have the talents and the resources that the world will need most in the decades ahead. And young Canadians are citizens of the world. They're well-educated with both deep climate awareness and remarkable digital literacy. And yet, not all of them are able to reach their full potential as they face the headwinds of inequality. In that, we are failing them, and it is our shared responsibility to correct course. The more we advance our common project to build a great future for Canada, the greater our influence on the world will be. And for that, our ambition must be bold and sustained. Impulser le Canada à la hauteur de son potentiel.
To help Canada reach its full potential, we must adopt a new perspective, one that is ambitious and confident on ourselves and on our place in the world of tomorrow. Some of you may have heard the parable of the three stonemasons. A traveler comes across three stonemasons at work and asks them, "What are you doing?" The first replies, "I'm cutting stones." The second says, "I'm building a wall." The third replies, "I'm building a cathedral." I know that it can be difficult to feel as though you were part of the ambitious project of building the Canada of tomorrow. We all get caught up in the busyness of our day-to-day lives, meeting the demands of our children, of our colleagues, grappling with the cost of living. But the fact remains that each and every one of us, in our own way, is helping to shape what Canada will become.
And so too is our influence on the world. Our expertise already positions us among global leaders in many fields, from ethical artificial intelligence to clean technologies, from creative industries to medical research. The new technologies at our disposal are more powerful than ever. They're highly attractive and widely accessible. But we must ensure that their convenience doesn't lead us to overlook the profound societal shifts that they are driving. With instant access to vast amounts of information, it's very tempting to pay little attention to the reliability of sources. The lines between knowledge and belief, between truth and falsehood, between facts and assumptions are increasingly blurred. AI could be threatening not only the way we live and work, but also the control we exercise over our own destiny. And yet these challenges are not insurmountable. If we remain vigilant, we can meet them with public institutions that remain trustworthy, a strong education system at every level, sustained investment in science, research and development, and with a private sector that upholds the standards of integrity that Canadians expect.
I would now like to speak to young Canadians in particular. Right now, you are starting to build the world in which your children will grow up. Your first task is to build yourselves. Learn, explore, dream, but also listen, pause, take a step back. Like the generations before you, you have at your disposal tools that didn't exist when your parents were born. So surprise us. And do not underestimate how lucky you are to grow up here, even if you're rightly concerned about the major challenges of our time. The health of our planet, the inequitable distribution of wealth, and the violence of armed conflicts. But trust in yourselves. Canada offers you tremendous freedom and possibilities.
The world is watching. It's watching the country that we're building together. Former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan often spoke of the three pillars of the United Nations: security, development, and human rights. And he always stressed that there can be no security without development, no development without security, and neither development or security without the protection of human rights. This is as true in Canada as it is everywhere else. As we undertake major initiatives to strengthen our economy and to strengthen our security, and to grow our economy, including in the Arctic, we must remain attentive to the rights of those directly affected, and we must always ensure a fair sharing of both burdens and benefits. Our collective security rests above anything else on the trust that we place in each other. Of course, I cannot speak of security without recognizing the vital contribution of the Canadian Armed Forces to peace, stability, and security, both around the world and here at home when there are times of great hardship. I recently came across a remark by General Jenny Carignan, Chief of the Defense Staff, who described the forces as long-standing exporters of security. I think today these vital efforts are being complemented by a renewed focus on defending our own vast territory. À nos membres en uniforme,
to our uniformed members, I express my deepest gratitude for your service, your professionalism, and your commitment to excellence. And I stand with your families who share in the sacrifices that this commitment entails.
I'm very encouraged to see recruitment efforts bearing fruit, with more Canadians from diverse genders, backgrounds, and perspectives. Significant progress is also being made within the forces to foster inclusion with dignity. Building on a proud tradition of respect and honor, this continued modernization over time strengthen effectiveness and morale. It will also enhance your capacity by better reflecting the country that you're called to protect. It's a profound honor for me to assume the role of Commander-in-Chief of Canada.
As I take on my new role, I am mindful of the privilege given to me to go out and meet with Canadians right across this country and to discover the wealth of ideas and ideals that inspire them. I am preparing myself to be surprised and to confront my own stereotypes and unconscious biases like that day when a young Chinese woman made me smile when she remarked that everything in New York was old. I can't wait to learn and share with you my thoughts on the joy of discovering others. And when I am called upon to represent Canada beyond our borders, or to welcome foreign dignitaries here at home, it is this diversity of Canadian voices that I intend to showcase. I hope that each day I will be able to embody the spirit of empathy that lies at the heart of our great reconciliation project.
Together, we can harness our extraordinary resources, the breadth of our talent, our collective know-how, and our boundless imagination. The world is watching us, not to copy everything we do, but to draw inspiration from a country striving to embrace the future with greater security, prosperity, and dignity for all. Thank you. Merci. Miigwech.